All right, it's now 3 losses in a row for the New York Mets as they fell to the Pirates in the Steel City on Friday night, 14-2. And it was a rough night for Mets pitching, who will look to bounce back on Saturday afternoon. So let's talk some Mets baseball. We're going to do it with the great Mets content creator. His name is Tyler Ward, and he joins me now. Tyler, how are you doing? Hopefully better than the Mets over the last 3 games.
Yeah, that's a low bar, isn't it, Dexter? So I'd say I'm doing pretty good at the moment. Mets have dropped their past 3 games. Not ideal for a team that's been riding high the past month and a half.
Yeah, not ideal, but 3-game skid. They'll look to try to stop it on Saturday afternoon. And Tyler, you just mentioned it with the 3-game skid. The Mets, they just suffered a tough 14-2 loss against the Pirates. That was their 3rd straight defeat. What do you think went wrong for the team in Pittsburgh on Friday night?
I think it's a cultivation of things, starting with the Mets, who have now dropped around 5 of their last 7 games. And 4 of those 5 losses in that stretch, they have had the lead in said ball game. And if you look at the final box score, you're saying, okay, surely the Mets never had a chance in this matchup against Paul Skeens and the Pirates, but they absolutely did. You know, they were up 2-0 in this matchup, thanks to, of course, guys like Jeff McNeil with a bomb that no one expected, truthfully, as he ripped a 99 heater to right, pull that one very well. But after the Mets took a 2-0 lead, Luis Severino simply did not have command. And outside of course, utilizing that sinker and that fastball, he really wasn't able to work his nice swing and miss pitches nearly as much, especially the sweeper among others. So to see Severino really pound the zone with the heater, a little bit too much to say the least, that was a recipe for disaster for this Mets team. He was barreled hard. We saw him give up bombs there in the half inning later. It's a tied ball game. Paul Skeens gets himself in a groove, retires 8 straight batters, and this Mets bullpen, headlined by Jake Diekman, in which I'm still truthfully wondering why he's in said bullpen. They, of course, faltered in this one, and that's why you saw the not back-to-back, but multiple grand slams hit. Just a pitching disaster across all fronts, which has been the ongoing issue for the Mets, as they, of course, have been hurting big time without Edwin Diaz in this bullpen.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned bullpen, because that's where I was going to go next. The bullpen's been under a lot of pressure. You know this. They've shown vulnerabilities. That was especially highlighted in this first game of the series on Friday night. But with Edwin Diaz's return, how much of a boost do you expect him to provide, and what other adjustments should the Mets consider in terms of dealing with their pen?
Oh, his boost goes well beyond just the talent alone, because by having Edwin Diaz back in this bullpen, you don't have to worry about being down an arm in said bullpen, right? The past 10 games for the Mets have been nothing short of a very difficult task for them to handle their bullpen woes. Between Sean Reed-Foley being down with injury, Drew Smith recently shut down for the remainder of the year with his 2nd Tommy John surgery, now enter Edwin Diaz suspension. So to have his return is absolutely vital to see not only the effective swing and miss that you get from Edwin, one of the best closers in the game today. We all saw how sharp he looked prior to his suspension, coming off of the 15-day IL with a shoulder impingement. So for Edwin Diaz, it's about confidence, it's about staying healthy, and ultimately being the save artist that we know and expect him to be for this Mets team.
Yeah, Mets fans and the Mets definitely glad to have him back in the fold. Now, Kodai Senga, Mets are hoping to get him back into the fold. He's heading to AAA Syracuse for his next rehab start. Given the timing and his potential return, how crucial is his comeback to this Mets pitching lineup, which you said has been a little bit disastrous, as we saw on Friday night?
Oh, having Kodai Senga back is going to be electric, right? This is a guy that we haven't really known when is he going to return. Of course, start of the year on the injured list, had not 1 but 2 setbacks for basically separate reasons than his initial injury that we saw with the capsule on his shoulder. So to see Kodai Senga pitch 2.2 scrolls innings there in his first rehab assignment in Brooklyn, topping out 97, 98 on the gun, getting swing and misses with that padded ghost fork that we all know, love, and covet so well. It's not a matter of if Kodai Senga will return this season, but a matter of when, sometime post-All-Star break, I assume. And once he does return, the Mets will be able to get very creative on their rotation configuration for a David Stearns and a Mets team that fully intends to both buy and sell at the trade deadline, barring any drastic changes from now up until July 29.
Yeah, his return will be a huge boost to that Mets starting rotation indeed. But we got to talk about this stretch for the Mets, Wardy, because the Mets started on Friday night a stretch of 10 games against teams below 500 leading up to the All-Star break. So in your eyes, how critical is this period for the team season, and what needs to happen to turn things around from this 3-game losing streak?
I view this period as exactly as critical as any other period for the Mets this season, because we've had this big label. Oh, the Mets have the most favorable schedule among all teams in the National League from here on out the rest of the season. When has I ever boded well for the Mets when we put it high on a pedestal in the media eye, especially? I think for the Mets, it's important to continue to do the JD Martinez philosophy, going back to the team meeting weeks ago with Francisco Lindor, the Jorge Lopez situation, and take everything day by day. This Mets team, when they play with a lack of pressure, a lack of expectation, that is when they get the best out of both their offense and, of course, from their pitching staff to a degree. So to look at this as, say, a fairly easy schedule will be the first thing to shoot themselves in the foot, because then they may, of course, lower kind of the expectations heading into these matchups and playing lesser to their opponents. For the Mets here, they need to continue to play their version of Metropolitan baseball and not based on the opponents that they find themselves facing. Take it day by day, and that'll be the recipe for success, in my humble opinion. Do not want to have this thought process that, oh, it's going to be easy sailing here on out. Farthest thing from the truth. It's a 162, and even though these teams are below 500, the same thing can be said for this Mets team right now, 2 games below 500. So they got to get back to their winning ways, and it doesn't matter who's in front of them. Take advantage of every opportunity given to you to the best of your ability.
Take advantage of the opportunity and take care of business, and that's what Mets fans are hoping the team can do over the next 9 games before the All-Star break. That is Tyler Ward, the great Mets content creator, and I have to say this because Tyler brought this up before we started recording, and that's, I've had Tyler on anytime the Mets are in trouble. We have to get Tyler on when there's some good vibes around the Mets. So Tyler, the next time the Mets have some good vibes, I'm sure to bring you back on with me. It's going to happen.
Oh, sounds great, Dexter. I'm looking forward to it. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. And let's go Mets, baby.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.